or wanting to take from them. You may continue to demand, but the insatiable desire to be given to, which is your greed, will never be satisfied. It is a bottomless pit, like the sandy trap of an antlion or a black hole, which never fills up but keeps dragging everything into it. What would this world look like if it were filled with people in this state of mind? Just imagine. The streets you are walking on is dotted with wide-open, cone-shaped pits, which in fact have human faces. You cannot walk down the street in peace, because there are hands sticking up out of the ground, trying to drag you in. What would the world be like if it were filled with people like this? I used imagery, but in the other world, where you return as a spirit after death, this kind of realm really does exist. There is a place where hands actually stick up out of the ground, grabbing your feet, trying to drag people in. In the realm known as hell, it is the only way to get fulfillment. This is by no means a happy situation. For those who are unhappy, only spread misery. If all the people around you have been dragged into a state of unhappiness, who will be left to make you happy? Only those who are happy can bring happiness and salvation to others. Those who are miserable can never help you get free. If you really want to be free from misery and attain happiness, it is very important that the number of happy people in this world increases. So, even if you think that you are now surrounded by pain, need, and dissatisfaction, stop thinking negatively. Instead, try to think, this certainly is a difficult situation, but what can I do in the midst of this deprivation? There must be something that I can do, something small that would benefit the world and those around me. I will never become like an ant, trapped in a bottomless sandy pit, no matter how much trouble I am in. Even if you are dragged down into the cone-shaped pit of an antlion, with thousands of similar pits around you, for as long as your voice will hold out, at least warn the people walking on the street to watch their step and stay away from the pits. This is the very least you can do. It is cowardly to want other people to be as miserable as you. Even if you have been struck by misfortune, you must prevent the misery from spreading. Determine not to make other people suffer the same misfortune or experience the same misery. Only with this kind of attitude can you spare others the misfortune of falling into the pits. They, in turn, can save the unfortunate people. Even if you are surrounded by misery, make an effort to contribute to the happiness of others. You need to reject negative thoughts and generate positive thoughts, constantly looking for ways to make other people happy. Even a person who is ill can make others happy, just as a doctor who himself is sick can cure his patients. No matter how deeply troubled you are, you can provide others who are not in the same pain with words of guidance. If you cannot do anything positive for others, it means that you are too preoccupied with yourself. You need to stop thinking about yourself for a while and take a look around you. There are, no doubt, many others around you who are making a real effort. Why do you shut your eyes and look away from them? You are not the only one who is working hard to improve yourself. Be aware of others. Remember that many other people are making an effort in various circumstances. The first step in rebuilding your life is to cease all negative thinking. That means to cease holding grudges, cursing, or blaming your surroundings and other people. The second step you need to take is to study. Instead of looking inward, look around you. Be aware of the world. You need to know what kind of people are living in this world, what kind of life problems they face, and what kind of feelings they experience. Look carefully at others. You are not the only one who has suffered a broken marriage, or have death separating you from your parents. You are not the only one who suffered a serious illness, or failed an important examination. Many others have similar experiences. Yet, the path each of them chose to attempt to overcome these difficulties is different, even though the circumstances may have been similar. They are all walking on a different path of life. Why is this? You need to study the reasons for this carefully. In your study, there are 2 points you need to focus on. The first is the easier. Investigate the reasons for the misfortune of an obviously unhappy person. You will no doubt be able to find someone who is unhappy within sight. For example, at your work or at home. It is not very difficult to understand what a person's misery stems from. Start by studying why that person is unhappy, why that person always fails, and the causes of misfortune. You will find a number of reasons. Then, consider which of these is the most important. For instance, you may encounter a businessman who keeps on failing. Perhaps he attributes his failures to the recession, to betrayal by someone he trusted, to difficulties with financing, or to the caliber of his employees. However, if you look closely at why he is always unsuccessful, you may discover that he is the sort of person who is always in a hurry, who gets impatient or irritated. If he is always impatient, he will not be able to trust the work of others. He will get irritated and then interfere with other people's work. Impatience also leads to a craving for quick results. He will tend to stop short if he cannot see as much achievement as he expected, even if a little more patience would bring him success. Because of his impatience, he suddenly quits projects in spite of all the money and human resources invested, and loses all the trust he built up in one day. People like this, who are impatient, do not have the tolerance or compassion to understand others and their circumstances. Because they are completely preoccupied with themselves, they cannot sympathize with others. And because they are always worried, they constantly feel that they are under pressure to achieve quick results. There is another type, who always fails at the very last moment, just before reaching their goal. After considerable achievement, when 80% to 90% of a whole process has been completed, This particular person will make a careless mistake and end a project in failure. In many cases, they make mistakes with words. When a businessman of this type has reached the final stages of a deal and is about to sign a contract, he relaxes and with a slip of a tongue discloses secret problems. He may carelessly blurt out, "My warehouse is full of unsold merchandise," or, "I applied for a loan but the bank turned me down. You are my savior. I am really so grateful." Naturally, this worries the other party and they decide to reassess the risk. As a result of further investigation, they decide to withdraw because the deal turns out to be risky. People like this really do exist. There are people who carelessly blurt out things and bring about their own failure. On the brink of success, these people subconsciously want to fail. Of course, they would resent this remark, but it is clear to everybody else. These people make careless mistakes just as they expect, and then feel relieved to confirm to themselves how unlucky they are. It is like being in lukewarm water. Although such people are afraid of catching a cold, they choose to stay in the tepid water because they are more frightened of getting out into the cold. These sorts of people actually invite failure and will experience the same sort of trouble over and over to confirm their view that life is not easy. You can learn many things from the failures of others. Study them closely so that you can use the lessons as guides if you should find yourself in a similar situation in the future. Just keep your eyes wide open. In addition to studying people who fails, there is another type of people who you should study closely, which is slightly more difficult. This is the study of successful people. It will bring valuable lessons, but at the same time, it is a little difficult because successful people are often superior to you in some area, in terms of skills, knowledge, or experience. To understand and evaluate the abilities of successful people can be rather difficult. Whenever you see a successful person, it is very important not to be jealous. Never criticize or speak ill of a successful person out of envy. This is a very important attitude. As I observe and counsel many people about their problems, I can often clearly see why a person who is held in high regard, both by themselves and others, fails. It often comes down to a single reason, that the person continually puts down those who are successful, out of a jealousy of people who seem stronger or have superior abilities. If someone has this tendency, they will most likely fail even if they possess a high level of ability. Unfortunately, this type of person cannot understand the reasons for their failure. They always find fault with those who are successful and claim they have done something dishonest or unfair practices to gain that success. As long as they think like this, they can never learn from others. If you assume that others' success is merely the fruit of undeserved luck, or assume that they cheated their way to success, you will never learn the lessons that will motivate you to become successful. Do you see why? You may hear one person saying of another person, "He must have had a piece of good luck," or "He was just plain crafty." But if you desire to be happy and intend to be successful, never say this sort of thing. You must get rid of this attitude, of attributing others' success to something other than their own efforts, and stop thinking that success will never visit you. As long as you think like this, you can never acquire the attributes of successful people. Such cowardly, nitpicking attitudes like this will never bring you happiness, and will prevent you from learning valuable lessons to succeed. Of course, the successful person is not always perfect. You may be better in some areas, but if you really want to be successful, you must admit that that person is successful and try to learn from them. Attacking and criticizing may give you some temporary satisfaction, but this sort of attitude will never bring you happiness or success. It is absolutely necessary to eliminate all jealousy at any cost. Jealousy is the greatest pitfall and prevents many people from achieving success. On the other hand, sympathizing with the weak or those who fail is a human tendency. However, if this tendency is taken to extremes, it is not desirable or beneficial, because it will imprint an attraction to misfortune on your mind, and will eventually divert you from the path to success. Compassion and sympathy for the weak and those who fail is important, but do not allow it to turn into a love of misfortune, which obstructs your true development. If you wish to be successful, it is crucial that you learn from those who excel, who are successful and strong. You should never attempt to cast a shadow over the happiness of those who are successful. Instead, celebrate their success sincerely. Only when you can do this, can you begin to learn from them with humility. Even if you have failed, when you see people who are successful, you first need to stop speaking ill of those people. But that alone is not enough. You need to be able to praise them. Only when you can celebrate other people's success and thank them for providing you with a wonderful example can you learn from them and progress. If you wish to be like them, you have to take their positive traits as an example to follow. Suppose you have suffered a failure in business, and your grown-up son wants to start a business. If you repeatedly say, "All businesses inevitably fail, so yours will too," then your son is highly likely to fail. If, on the other hand, you encourage him by saying, "I myself failed, but many others have succeeded. Learn from them and work hard," your son is likely to become successful. Parents' attitudes are very important, and whether they wish their children's success or failure makes a great difference. If parents expect a child to fail, he or she probably will, and the parents will suffer more as a result of it. We must be on guard against this kind of vicious cycle, which often occurs at a subconscious level. The first thing I had advised you to do is to stop thinking negatively. Secondly, I suggested observing and studying failure and success in others. You should use the results of these studies as the lessons for your life. Look closely at yourself. Ask yourself, how about me? Will I attain happiness and success with this state of mind, in this lifestyle, with my present abilities? Taking those who are successful as examples, I think I should correct weaknesses in my character, in my way of working, and in my relationships with others. Engrave these lessons on your heart. It is very important to learn by observing and studying other people's situations. However, there is more. Once you have stopped thinking negatively and studied others carefully, you must take one more step to further development. What comes next? What is essential? To give you my answer, it is to have strong aspirations and ideals. Without these, you will never improve or advance, no matter how much you study. The ability to envision ideals and to aspire strongly to these ideals is one of the greatest gifts human beings have been given. Even if your achievements fall short of your expectations, and even if your past record is not good, the very fact that you have not yet lost your aspirations means that you still have great talent. Realize that you have been gifted with this essential ability. Everything starts from this point. No matter how hard you have been hit by misfortune, cease all negative thinking. Learn from others. Study yourself closely, and let your heart glow with aspiration. Aspiring to reach higher ideals is essential. Without aspiration, you cannot step forward. In spite of intelligence and good character, some people just cannot succeed. Good character means that they do not harbor grudges or criticize others. And intelligent means that they are eager to study. Still, they are unable to achieve success. Usually, such people do not aspire to any ideals. Ideals always generate enthusiasm, and those who are enthusiastic attract other people to them. You may ask how you can develop the quality of aspiration and make your heart glow with ideals and enthusiastically. A single person being an example will suffice as the answer. If, in this audience, a person were to provide you with an example of a passionate life and aspire to high ideals, no other explanation would be necessary. That can also be described as self-reflection based on the knowledge of truth. Finally, aspiring to ideals corresponds to the path of development. If you eliminate negative thinking, study hard, and aspire to powerful ideals, you can never fail. You can only flourish and realize happiness. With these 3 steps, you can rebuild your life. I have great expectations for each one of you. Thank you.